All right, good evening. How is everybody doing? That's the question. How are you? Yeah. Yeah, pretty fun day around here. Exciting. I don't want to get into it too much, but we had a really good day. And you love it when you have days that put you in this kind of mood. It's just an unbelievably cool day. And I got late into the bunker today because we were out doing some stuff, and so I'm literally getting caught up right here. So just everybody just bear with me. And yeah. Like that. Okay. Messaging. Yes. Check. Video check. Bunker cam is up. Music is queued over here. Network feed is ready to go. Chat rooms are ready to open. This is what I got to do. It's I got to go through everything. Okay. Twitter is up and live. Emails go. Yes. And Jason Louv tonight to discuss technology. It is a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day. What a great show last night with Holly Marie. Just an incredible show. We talked about it today too, Rita and I. It was a great show. And I miss doing shows like that where I'm learning, well, I learn every night, but that was really cool. So tonight, Jason Louv. And then tomorrow night, the debut of Tracy Garbutt on this show. She's going to be on the show a lot, but tomorrow night, very excited about that. Introducing her to the world tomorrow night. So get ready. That's it. I think I'm good to go. I do believe I'm good to go. So, I'm going to be talking. I've got 15 seconds. I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about I've got some technology stuff I'm going to set up the show with. One is about AT&T spying with the NSA. Listen to what I have to say. Here we go. Enjoy the show.
Bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. Today's Tuesday, June 26th, 2018. 177 days into the new year, just 188 days left. We're live from a bunker somewhere in beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Very excited about tonight's show because tonight, very special guest, Jason Louv is back. And tonight we're going to talk technology. All of it. All of it. We're going to talk Big Brother. We're going to talk artificial reality, artificial intelligence, privacy, data mining, cell phones, networks. We're going to do it all tonight. And how it controls you today and what we can expect in the future. It's a very important show with one of the very best and brightest, Jason Louv. Okay, now tomorrow night, another big show. Because tomorrow night, Tracy Garbutt is here, and we are going to introduce her to the world. That's right, Tracy Garbutt tomorrow night. Oh, man. Just wait. Tomorrow night. And then Thursday is another Fader night without John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. That's right. John is back on the road. He's doing stuff. He's doing research. That's what he's doing. So he will be with us next Thursday, but he won't be with us this Thursday, which means a full night of open lines all night long. Okay, now we have On Stellar. Today, Rita, you can friend me over at On Stellar. You can go and get registered over there, the next great social media platform that is On Stellar, ONSTELLAR.com. Very simple. Just go and register, get registered, and it's just like any other social media platform in that it's free. It's a great community. There's no data mining. There's no advertising. There's nothing like that going on over there, but it's built for our community. You can do whatever you want. You want to post pictures of your cat? You just go right ahead. You can do that. I haven't jumped in on my famous barbecue pics, but that's next. The platform is unbelievably beautiful. So, and fun. So go and get registered now on Stellar.com and use my referral code Jimmy when you register, because you're going to get 15 bonus tokens, the On Stellar tokens, and you will need those and want those and desire more of those once the blockchain that this is based on is plugged in about a month. That's right. Oh, what a beautiful platform. Yeah, I haven't been spending much time over at Facebook, as everybody has noticed. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I'm just drinking this River Moon coffee. Man, River Moon is amazing. River Moon coffee, and it's very simple. Just go to the promo, the banners over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Click and use that promo code F2B Blend. You'll get 15% off of your order. So you will, when you get your Fade to Black blend, right? You will do this. Oh, man, that is delicious. That's exactly what you are going to say. It is. It's a game changer. Fade to Black blend by River Moon Coffee. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Facebook, you can still follow and do all of that stuff with Facebook right now. And, of course, YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel. You can go and do everything over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Okay. Do we have all of the OnStellar stuff? We should. Yeah, OnStellar's at JimmyChurchRadio.com. You do everything that you need right there. And if you want to hang out on Twitter with us all night long, it's very simple. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox where we hang out all night. John, that's a great picture. So I am going to retweet that. And if you want to check out all the dancing GIFs, all the dancers and everything that everybody posts as they start the show, just head over to Twitter, hashtag F2B. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Okay? All right. Any questions or comments during the show? Hashtag F2BQ. You can also email during the show, which is Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Breaking news, and it is sad. Toys R Us will end its going out of business sale as it prepares to close every U.S. location officially this Friday. That's right. The remaining 200 Toys R Us and Babies R Us stores will shut their doors this Friday, June 29th. Many locations that have run out of stock have already shut down, and many more are scheduled to close as early as midnight tonight. The 70-year-old franchise has either closed or sold its 735 U.S. locations. And that's sad. I know that eBay and Amazon and the internet has a lot to do with this, a lot of shopping online, and I understand that. And sometimes, you need to respond and embrace the internet if you want to be a brick and mortar. You kind of got to do both these days. I think Toys R Us was probably behind the ball, but that has nothing to do with how I feel inside. It rips at me because all of us, everybody listening to me right now, has a Toys R Us memory. And I grew up just like everybody here. I grew up from day one with Toys R Us, and there was nothing like going to Toys R Us with your parents. Nothing like it. Nothing. Legos. Right? I mean, how cool was it, right? And Toys R Us, and that's the part that I think we remember, going to Toys R Us as a kid. But then there's another part. When you become a parent and you are able to take your children there, from the time that they are able to walk and you can just go toy shopping and hanging out with your kids at Toys R Us. There was nothing better than that because the same magic was there for them as it was for you. And your kids were absolutely glowing inside just like you did when you were a kid. And it's no more. Isn't that trippy? And I know that a couple of investors and one big investor tried to step in and purchase it and keep it alive. It fell through. Sad. Toys R Us, right? It's not just me. If it hurts, doesn't it? That's where a government program needs to come in play, right there. That's when the government needs to step in. Right there. You need to keep that alive. But Toys R Us is no more as of this Friday. Unbelievable. And I'll tell you something else. And this isn't part of the media story. Toys R Us internationally, outside of the United States, still running. All the stores are open. Yep. Canada, everywhere. All those locations, it's just Toys R Us in the United States. It's just like, Jimmy, remember Children's Palace on Shadeland? I do remember Children's Palace on Shadeland. That Shadeland is the main one of the main drags in Indianapolis. I used to work on Shadeland. That's where Western Electric was when I worked at Bell Laboratories. I was on Shadeland. But anyway, yeah, Children's Palace on Shadeland. That rocked. Man, I love my Naptown people. We've got to somehow get something going on in Indianapolis because I need to come back. I need to come back to Indy here as soon as I can and come hang out with everybody. Miss Naptown. All right, don't forget to sign up for our Soul Tech Gathering. I'm not too too sure. Believe it or not, I didn't have the time to check this weekend. I should have done it before the show today. See how many tickets we have left. We're running out. I didn't get the big "okay, we're sold out" message yet, but it's happening soon. So go to soultechgathering.com and get signed up. It is August 9th through the 12th. I want to let everybody know that Corey Good is going to be my special guest, so he'll be hanging out Friday and Saturday. We're going to have speakers include James Gilliland, Jason Quitt, Matthew Ryan, Michaela Sheldon, Teresa Yanaris, Holly Marie, Mary Gabrielle, John Lund, Dana Harvey, Billy Carson, Laura Cantu, and Christine Contini will all be teaching. Okay, so this is a conference where we are going to do 3 straight days, 4 nights, three days of teaching. Okay, we've got classrooms. It's going to be nothing but, right? So that's what you want to do, is get signed up right away. The food is going to be amazing, and the night watches the sky watches that we're going to do on the Field of Dreams each night. Sunday night, we are going to have a party. We're going to have food trucks that are coming in. We're going to have music and fun, and as well as some sky watching. That'll be going down Sunday evening. So we've got a great itinerary. You can check everything out at soultechgathering.com. This lineup of speakers and how we are doing it is going to be different. And I wanted to create those memories for everybody that Rita and I got. It's just a magical place, ECETI, and it is such an opportunity for everybody to not only to learn and to gather knowledge, but to make friends, because that's what we did there. We took a group picture up at ECETI last year, got everybody together as we were eating dinner. I don't know, 100 or so people in this pic, because we were all friends at that point. It was cool, and I didn't want to leave. I did not want to leave. So that's what the goal was here for Soul Tech. Okay, go and get signed up now, soultechgathering.com. All of the information that you need is right there. And then a week later, I'm going to be heading out August 17th through the 19th. I'm heading out to Loveland, Colorado for Dimensions of Disclosure with Corey Good, David Wilcock, Emery Smith, Teresa Yanaris, Gerald O'Donnell, Jordan Sather, and 20 other speakers. And tickets and information are over at dimensionsofdisclosure.com. And while you're over at jimmychurchradio.com, don't forget FAO Schwartz. Yeah, FAO Schwartz. I went to, well, I've been to so many FAO Schwartz, but the one that was in New York, is it still there? Is FAO Schwartz still open in Manhattan? How could they close that down? Keep that baby open. FAO Schwartz. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast when you are over at jimmychurchradio.com. We have over 875 archive shows right there. Custom apps, Apple, Android. All the platforms that you need are in the stores, and all of that for just $2 a month. jimmychurchradio.com. Click on the podcast banner. And you can also become a Fade or Not over in our membership section. Nothing like becoming an official Fade or Not, where you're going to get a private email to me, right? I'm a little behind on my emails, everybody. I know, but I'll get caught up on those over the last couple of days. But you get a private email to me. You get the Bunker Cam. Hello, everybody on the Bunker Cam. You get, if you wish, you can get commercial-free downloadable archives, okay, that you can just put on your computer or your phone and listen to them whenever you want, however you want. And if you get the Game Changer, you also get that famous Fade to Black gear. You get an autographed Fade to Black hat that is not for sale. You can only get that Fade to Black hat if you become a Game Changer. All right, and you're also going to get a T-shirt. And I get people all the time. I do. Hey, man, sell me a hat. Nope. We've laid down the law there. And that's it. You can only. So when you see somebody wearing a fade to black hat, there's only one way to get it, and that's another fader knot right there. And so that's what you do. You go up and go, dude, I'm a fader knot. That's what you do. That's what they're there for. Okay, and you can get it right now. Go over to our membership section and become a fader knot. Let's get the show cracking right now. Happy birthday to today. Chris O'Donnell is 48 years old, and he didn't make the cut for playing Robin in the Batman films. And I know that's what you're thinking. Right? No, he made the cut because of Scent of a Woman. Yeah, you probably didn't know that. See, I know these things, and I share the knowledge. It's really that simple. Hey, John, that's a really cool shot of... Now, I just retweeted that. That's John, part of John's gear. He's got all of it. That's the new fade to black shirts right in there. That's autographed. He's got the autographed hat too as well. That's the new. When you renew your subscription, you get this version of the shirt. That's the new one. That's really cool. And yeah, man, pretty cool gear collection there, John. On this day in history, OTD 1956, one of the biggest days in the United States history. Because on this day in 1956, Congress approves the Federal Highway Act, which allocates more than 30 billion ducks for the construction of 41,000 miles of interstate highways. That's right. Roadside attractions. Yep, there wouldn't be any Cracker Barrels if it wasn't for the Federal Highway Act. It was the largest public construction project in U.S. history. Now, the courtroom scene, Scent of a Woman, that's really good. This is the deal with that. Think about what it did, not only to connect the country, but to unite families. The station wagons, right? Driving summer vacations, Christmas vacations, driving across the country with 6 kids in the back of a station wagon without seatbelts, throwing stuff out the back window. Those were the days. And that's what happened on this day in 1956. Now we got to do it all over again, really. There needs to be another Federal Highway Act, and we just need new highways. Just rebuild them. I wonder what it would cost today in U.S. dollars, in today's dollars. I wonder what that... Somebody post that up. Or Waffle Houses. Yeah, you're right about that, IPD. You're absolutely right. Or Pilots, or Loves, those truck stops. So, in U.S. dollars from 1956 to 2018, $30 billion to do 41,000 miles back then. What would it cost in today's dollars? Finally, OTD before I was born. Nice, Karen. So, Karen, did you tour, did you vacation in the back of a station wagon without seatbelts with your brothers and sisters? Man, those were the days. Unbelievable. Fader fact. Now, this goes hand in hand with our show tonight. I'm going to talk to Jason about tonight's Fader fact and also my rant, which I've got to get to now. But Fader fact, 1 in 3 children today can use a tablet before they can speak. Think about that. Yeah, 1 in 3. Tonight, Jason Louv is here. We're going to talk technology all night long. Tomorrow night, I'm introducing you to Tracy Garbett. That will be tomorrow night. Thursday night's another Fader night. Open lines all night long. John Rappaport is back on the road. Well, here we go. Right now, my rant tonight needs a shot of this coffee. I also miss being able to sit in the back of a pickup and having the wind blowing on you. Yeah, you probably can't do that today. That's in the chat room. That's from Catalina in the chat room. Can you do that? Can you ride around in the back of a pickup truck? Probably in the South. Anyway, at least 8 AT&T facilities across the United States provide the NSA with data essential to spy on internet and phone traffic across the globe. That's according to The Intercept and their report that was published today. Adding that, the agency called AT&T a trusted, salacious partner. For over 30 years, Dallas-based multinational telecommunications conglomerate AT&T has provided U.S. intelligence with private data of its customers through a specially designed surveillance program called Fairview. After the first reports of the secret program surfaced back in 2013, and I talked about it on this program, following the revelations of whistleblower Edward Snowden, The Intercept has managed to identify at least 8 AT&T sites that transmit billions of private messages, chat history, and phone calls to the U.S. government. Now, I'm quoting here. AT&T is the only company involved in Fairview, which was first established in 1985, according to NSA documents, and involves tapping into international telecommunications cables, routers, and switches. The publication said all of this after conducting a thorough investigation of public records, secret NSA records, and witness testimony. Now, while other physical locations may be involved in the Fairview program, the investigation identified AT&T's backbone and peering facilities in Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C., and all of them are hidden in plain sight. In addition to AT&T customers, the U.S. giant also reportedly jeopardized the privacy of other telecom providers that use the company's service node routing complexes, referred to as peering sites. They include U.S.-based telecommunications giant Sprint and Cognet Communications, in addition to Sweden's Telia, India's Tata Communications, Tata, and Italy's Telecom Italia, Germany's Dutch Telecom, and now check this out. With the internet originating back in the United States in the 1970s and the global outreach of local tech companies, a major part of international data and communications traffic is currently routed through the U.S. America's geographical position. That's right. Everything funnels through here. Now, it also helps that the United States is smack dab in the middle of what? Well, Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. That's right. Everything runs through here. Now, the NSA possesses vast legal powers to snoop on emails, phone calls, and other communications passing through the U.S., as well as making American tech companies install surveillance hardware in their networks. In carrying out these activities, the agency draws from Executive Order 12333, which was introduced during Ronald Reagan's time in office back in the 1980s. It allowed the NSA to monitor all communications which originate and terminate in foreign countries but travel through the United States. The 8 nuclear blast-resistant windowless facilities offer the NSA common backbone admission to raw user data that passes through the network, which includes web browsing, social media queries, other forms of online and phone activity. And in addition, the U.S. company has around 19,500 points of presence in 149 countries, which help the NSA monitor online activity. Again, I'm going to quote here. The data exchange between AT&T and other networks initially takes place outside AT&T's control. at third-party data centers that are owned and operated by companies such as California's Equinix. But the data is then routed in whole or in part through 8 AT&T buildings, where the NSA taps into all of it. It's pretty crazy. Now, I've got the addresses of all 8 buildings. I have personally seen 2. I've got the addresses for all 8, and it's almost worth traveling the country to go look, to walk inside. How would you like to be able to? Now, the AT&T Center in Manhattan, it's a very famous building. And I can guarantee you, it's very famous. They use it for all kinds of things. But I guarantee you, you go up to that front door, turn around, look at the street. You're going to see snoops. You're going to see crazy cars. You're going to see people going in and out of that building that will scare the crap out of you. Real spies, real spooks, real snoops. Think about that. At 8 different cities across the United States. All of, when you think about, Dallas and Manhattan and Los Angeles and Seattle, right? You think about these points, and that all of your data, all of it goes through those 8 buildings. Every text. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. I'll have more on this later on tonight, and I'll be discussing this with Jason, because we're going to talk technology all night long. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is Jason Louv. Tomorrow night, Tracy Garbett is going to be here getting her introduction to the world. And, of course, Thursday night is another Fader night, but John Rappaport is on the road. He's doing research. He'll be back with us next Thursday. But tonight is Jason Louv. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. It's going to be an amazing, amazing conversation tonight. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I'll be right back. Stay with me.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at Tdotcom? A lot. But by federal law, we at Tdotcom cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at Tdotcom and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. GetTheT.com. GetTheT.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Changing the world. That's what we do here. We gather knowledge and share it. Want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, I'm introducing Tracy Garbutt to you. Get ready for that. It's going to be an amazing show. Thursday night is open lines all night long, taking your phone calls. It is Fader night. Tonight, Jason Louv is back with us. I'm very excited about this show. I discuss these subjects about not only technology and AR and AI and parallel worlds and what Silicon Valley is doing with all of that to help science prove some of these fantastical things that were only science fiction just a short while ago. Today it's science fact. Well, Jason is the author of 8 books, including John Dee and the Empire of Angels, Generation Hex, and The Psychic Bible. And as a journalist, he has covered surveillance, international trade, and the dark side of technology for Vice News, Boing Boing, Motherboard, and many more. And as a futurist and strategist, he has worked on Buzz Aldrin's international campaign to colonize Mars and Google's artificial intelligence program. Tonight, we're going to discuss how technology has taken over our lives, how this tech will affect our future, and what we can do to preserve our individual thought and actions. Big Brother is watching, and I would like to I would like to watch Jason Louv back to the program. Jason, good evening.
Hey, Jimmy. Thanks for having me back on.
It's really good to hear your voice, my friend. And I don't know. We're going to start off here, Jason. I don't know if you caught my rant at the beginning of the show, but every program, every night, I do a Fader fact, right? And in that, I try to bring something that is nearly unbelievable but vetted. And tonight's Fader fact for you was this. 1 in 3 children today can use a tablet before they learn to speak. Now, if that isn't an indication of things...
I'm speechless about that.
Is that unbelievable? That's unbelievable. That is just... And then, in a weird way, it doesn't surprise me. It's as a frightening of a fact as I can present, but it doesn't surprise me. I'm sure that you're thinking things right now. What goes through your head when you hear something like that?
I'm just wondering if they can learn how to order on Amazon Prime before they can speak and run up their parents' credit card tab.
I did a story. It was about I don't know, maybe 6 months, a year ago. This mom is just getting this crazy stuff delivered to her house, right? It was just like weird stuff. And it turned out her 4-year-old son was ordering off of Amazon and got her credit card. Right, and was just stuff that he was seeing on TV, just these weird packages, and there you go. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I wonder if he could speak.
That's too funny. Well, of course, the first thing that I think of, and obviously, is I wonder if people have done scientific studies on what that does to brain development. I don't think somebody who grows up living in the virtual world and interacting with tablets is not going to develop the same way as somebody who grows up reading books or even just watching TV, I think. So I'm curious if there's any scientific literature on that. That would be my first question.
And talking about Google and their AI, which we're going to discuss later on in the program, but back to children and tablets, one of the big money makers for YouTube is YouTube for Kids, right? And where these parents are giving their kids a tablet, putting that sucker on autoplay and letting it rip. And these kids are and they don't know. The parents are in the other room or whatever, doing their thing. And whatever automated AI choices are coming up, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Google will select.
Yeah, of course, the algorithm.
Right.
And of course, I'm sure it's going to be crazy stuff, but then at the same time, you have to, I don't know, I think about back to the 80s when, when kids were growing up before the 80s watching cartoons, they were just at the mercy of the network. So I don't know if it was that too much different. And of course, these things can seem sinister, and there are aspects of them which are phenomenally sinister, but that's always been the case for new technologies, and new technologies have always been resisted. So for me as a futurist, I feel that it's and kind of part of my job to look at the dark side of technology, particularly now as we just walk openly into the technological age. And I think that people are more aware of that now, particularly with the extent of the manipulation of Facebook in the 2016 election and that type of thing. But I'm also not a pessimist about technology. I think the technology, especially a lot of the new technologies coming down the pipeline, are going to be the best chance to solve our problems as a species. I think that it's far more likely that we're going to get fixes for things like environmental degradation or space travel frankly, from the tech world and from private industry than we're going to get them from government. So hopefully we'll get them from both working in tandem. But, I'm an optimist and a pessimist about these things.
Well, back in 1995, which is a pretty pivotal year because of not only how the internet, where we went from, laptops started to surface. We had PCM CIA modems, right? 14.4 modems and PCM CIA cards and AOL floppy disk and AOL CDs and how that, in 1995.
Right, that was the era when it took 50 minutes to download one grainy scan of a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue.
Yeah, man, those were the days. You waited, man, and you waited. You paid for it by the minute, right? You waited. But how innocent were we back then? Not only with us as individuals, but corporations, all the way from water treatment plants and electricity to food distribution and brick and mortar stores. Everything was different just 20 short years ago. And the internet may be where we go for entertainment and our news today, but it also runs the world. In 20 short years, everything has been integrated into the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting you bring up, 20 years ago, or certainly in the 90s when the World Wide Web was first rolling out to the public, there was the rhetoric that this is going to create a global village, that this is going to bring everyone together. And that's certainly happened, but it's the village is like people running around throwing Molotov cocktails, houses burning down, everyone screaming, random things in the street, hate groups running around. It's we live in a connected world now, but now we have to deal with the fact that we're all actually connected to each other, and human beings are kind of terrifying. So it's one of those be careful what you wish for things.
That part of it, which I'm fascinated with, in that the innocence of AOL, 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, and the activity of what was going on then versus today, it's like something was activated in our DNA that was always there. This fragmenting, this of us versus them, and the fighting and the infighting and the verbiage. Trolling is one thing, but you can have two friends go at it that may have never gone at it before, and certainly not in public or when they're over at somebody's house for dinner. But the internet has brought this out of everybody. Is it because, like you just said, right? People are just bad.
So do you know who's the big new Brzezinski is?
Oh, of course.
So just the boiler, of course, for listeners. So Brzezinski was, I believe, the foreign policy advisor to Jimmy Carter, and also was a mentor to Barack Obama, and was a geopolitical strategist, also the father of Micah Brzezinski. In the 60s, he wrote, I believe, his doctoral dissertation, which was called Between Two Worlds. And he talks about the effect that technology is going to have for the world. He talks about that there's going to be a global brain, and that technology will allow people to think as one species. But there's also a famous line in there, which I've used multiple times in talks and in my writing, where he says that, the instantaneous electronic intermeshing of humanity will lead to strained social fabric and total social breakdown. And he wrote that, I think, in 1968. It's an incredibly prescient sentence. The idea that technology brings us all a little bit too close together. And I think you're right. There is something and I don't know what it is, but there is something inherently combative about communications technology. That was the case in the 90s, even with Usenet, with news groups. There were these epic flame wars. That was the first time that started. And of course, when Facebook and social media brought that to the masses, that was part of it. But look, I mean, I'm not sure we can blame technology, because combat is part of, and war and aggression is part of the human experience. There's been war on this planet every year since the beginning of the human species.
Right.
So we're just seeing ourselves in it. And I think that particularly as Mark Zuckerberg Zuckerberg and Gates continue their efforts to get the entire planet connected, what we're seeing is more and more and more people coming online, people who have been underrepresented, people who haven't had a say. In the 90s, in the mid-90s, when the internet first started, the people who were just on the internet were Californian hippies and acid heads and people who were fascinated with the liberatory potential of the technology. And I love that. Those are my people. But they were also, to be fair, projecting their own wishful thinking about what they thought the internet would be onto the internet. The reality has been that the internet has allowed everything to come, it's just become another layer of the human experience. And, I think one of the things we saw in the Trump election is the ability of people who have felt shut out of the media to use social media to manipulate the discourse tremendously effectively, and how blindsided the political establishment was by that. So, and I think that that's only going to accelerate, because what we're going to see happening now is everyone's going to be on the internet. People in villages in the third world, in Africa or India, are going to be on the internet with smartphones that they're going to be charging off of, solar powered, solar dishes and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, we have no conception of how that's going to change the internet. When the entire world is on Facebook, and it's a couple billion already, that is going to, reality is going to continue to fractalize and become, and just break down in a sense. But I also think, in the 90s and in the 2000s, the whole utopian idea was that humanity would be brought together. And that's happening. And so I have to keep that in mind. And of course, there's going to be chaos and rocky bits along the road, because people are messy. There's nothing inherently good or bad about people. They're just chaotic and messy. So this is what the whole world being brought together looks like. And we're going to have to continue to learn how to interact with each other and learn how to deal with each other and deal with people from radically different walks of life. And the only thing that I'm concerned about in that regard is the algorithms themselves, because the way that Facebook has constructed their algorithms and Google, it's to keep people in tunnels where they're only seeing the information that they want to see. So in that sense, that's the antithetical to the idea of bringing everyone together. I understand why they've done it, and they have to do it to maintain a good user experience and keep people on their site. But yeah, that's kind of, there you go. I mean, there's a lot in play here.
Well, are we still on the safe side when it comes to the internet and technology and information? Are we still on the safe side of entropy? In that, is the internet going to end in chaos and break apart and explode into little bitty pieces of nothing like everything else?
I don't think so, because what we're seeing now, particularly as machine learning becomes more advanced, is and big data is. These technologies are getting better and better at processing and sorting gigantic amounts of information. And also as processor speed gets better with things like better and better graphics cards. What we're going to start seeing within the next 10 years is AIs making sense and making structure out of the internet. You know, I think it's very clear that that's what's going to happen. Now, of course, those AIs are very likely going to be in the control of all the usual suspects, the big tech players. But there will very likely also be ones created by individuals or small groups or startups, things like that. There's going to be thousands of AIs running around the internet. But what we're doing as a species is zooming out. I think that's the best metaphor of it. If you think about, but also like through a fly's eye, a fly lens, where a fly's eye has thousands of little hexagonal compartments. But imagine that's your camera lens and you're zooming out on that, and you're learning how to process more and more and more information all the time. And that's been happening insanely quickly since, well, the whole of human history, but particularly since the dawn of the World Wide Web. When you think about when the web first started, you think about Lycos and GeoCities and stuff like that. Now we have AIs and big data and machine learning and VR and all of this. And humanity is getting better and better at processing more and more information. And that's great. One of the things that Timothy Leary said in the 80s is, if you want to get more intelligent, learn to consume more and more information as much as possible, and from more and more viewpoints that you don't agree with, that you normally wouldn't look into. That's how human beings get smarter, and it's also how AI gets smarter. It's how machine learning gets smarter, by processing more information. So I'm an optimist. I think that even a basic example is, look at something like at a very, very basic level, and this is now very old technology, but look at something like Reddit. Reddit's been around for more than 10 years, but look at how the upvoting system in Reddit has allowed people to better process and sort good information from bad, if it's used correctly. So
yeah, the sort happens for you. And that, and especially the larger the number, they're going to be able to, well, discernment is part of it, but the bad information is not going to, filter through. It's going to get downvoted, and the real stuff will tend to come through. I agree with you there, but there's another part of it for me that I think is, and it's more biological, that is even more frightening, is that we're using our brains less. Okay, we're depending on everything else to do the thinking for us. So the exercise of the brain and the development of the brain is starting to go backwards. And for the first time in history, our brains are smaller today than they used to be physically. And that's
is that true?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't disinfo.
But what was the source of that, and is that a causation and correlation?
Yeah, and so in the white paper, and I'll send it to you, okay, so you can check it out. What it stated is this: we exercised our brain. We remembered numbers, we remembered faces, we remembered facts, we remembered conversations. We didn't have the ability to have everything else think for us. Today, if you want to find a location for something, you look it up. You don't even learn the directions. The directions are given to you, right? Or whatever it is, you go and find the information. You don't actually go and get it and store it and remember it. It's all given to you. And it's that way across the board. It's that way in school today. Everything is taught on a laptop or a tablet today. I mean, it's every student. Nobody today, they don't even teach writing in school. You know, that's and when my daughters went through that, they can barely write today. barely.
Wow.
You know, and so think about that. So the development of the brain doesn't have to develop, right? And that's the other scary part here. Where are we going to be? Are we going to plug into our brains in 100 years, right?
Right. I mean, this touches on a broader issue also, which is the idea of automation, which is particularly within the next 10 years. Most of what human beings have been most of the functions that human labor has been necessary to fulfill will be fulfilled by machines, whether that's physical machines or algorithms or AIs. I mean, we're looking at least 50%, potentially as high as 80 or 90% structural unemployment once AI really starts rolling out. I mean, we're quickly getting into a future where humans just aren't going to be necessary, or at least that's the view of, certainly the view of, you know, the people in power, perhaps.
What do we do with all the spare time? What do we do with that? Do we just go to school, vacation? What do we do?
Crochet.
Yeah, crochet.
Well, here's my honest answer. A lot of this is really the key, right? Because let's say, okay, best case scenario for this is that here's the best case scenario, and it's certainly not the only way this could go. Best case scenario is AI and automation, yes, causes this amount of structural unemployment, but we also get universal basic income. And at that point, then, well, I mean, let's look at this. I mean, this is what people have wanted for hundreds of years. Nobody likes going to their job, you know, for the most part. People don't like working. Nobody likes working in fields and things like that. So, and this has been the promise of technology since, you know, certainly since the industrial era, since the invention of the washing machine, this type of thing. So, best case scenario in a perfect world would be that, you know, human beings get to dedicate their time to artistic pursuits, spirituality, meditation, all the finer parts of being alive, socializing, interacting with their families and their extended families, forming social groups, enjoying life. I mean, that would be great. That said, that's such a gigantic shock for humanity to go into suddenly not having a role. And we know that when people feel like they're not important, and that we know that when meaning is taken away from people, that their life no longer means anything, that's kind of the worst thing you can do to somebody. It's certainly worse than physical pain.
Sure.
And it's certainly worse than suffering. Human beings can rationalize and cope with almost any level of suffering as long as it means something to them, and they can, as long as it's meaningful in the sense that they have a story about why it's happened and why it's necessary. Human beings are very, very good at constructing meaning for themselves and for other people. But if you take that away and then you say, well, you know, humans are just biomass, essentially, you know, my great fear is the 21st century could be a century of rolling genocides. And I fear that we're beginning to see the start of it right now, frankly, with some of the things that are happening in America and happening at the border and also in Europe.
Well, you know, there's I've got to take a break here, but there's another thought that comes to mind with all of that. You know, so you get called into the boss's office, right? Okay, you've been replaced by a robot. What? The good news is you get to keep your money. We're going to keep paying you, but you're free. You can leave. I don't want to leave. I like my job. No. Well, what am I going to do? Go learn to paint. I don't want to learn to paint. I like what I do here. What do you mean? And you're taking away, just like you said, somebody's, meaning. They enjoy, and suddenly the other part, spirituality, meditation, the arts, traveling, seeing the world, going back to school, learning. That will only last for so long. But the other part is it gives you more time to surf the net. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Think about it. It's pretty bizarre. Now, you brought up some numbers, and I want to go back to this because we're going to talk about this when we come back. I did a report last month. I went and gathered all of the numbers for Facebook, Google, and YouTube, the big three. Between the three of them, they tap into exactly half of the world's population. Half, right? Half. 3.5 billion people every single day on this planet visit one of those three sites. Now, and then while they are on one of the 3.5 billion, right? And then they go through a cycle. In that, they're on Facebook, they see a video, they click on that, they go over to YouTube, it's already inside, right, of Facebook. They go over to YouTube, they watch a YouTube video, they see something inside of the video, they go and they search that on Google. Google gives them a video suggestion, they go back to YouTube and then go back to Facebook and wrap up the day. And it's the most perfect, ingenious cycle. Right, this money-making, clicking machine, and they have in a very short and realistically speaking, 10 years. In 10 years, and they've done this. And if you go back 10 years ago and you look at the search engines that were around that are now running at 1% of the internet today, whereas Google is 80%, and then go back to things like Mozilla. Bing. Who uses Bing? Who uses Bing? Nobody. It's a crazy numbers crunching thing, and they've got it down to the purest of science.
Right. The other thing also is that all that clicking is currently training the AIs of these big companies. So it also serves that function. Human beings, anyone interacting with the internet right now, whether it's Facebook, Google, your Amazon device, anything like that, anytime you're online, your activity is helping to train machine learning for these companies. You're training their AIs, so
we'll talk about
there's that too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we come back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Jason Louv, and tonight we are talking technology, all of it. We're going to do AR, AI, how it controls you today, and what is it going to do for you in the future. We're going to do all of that. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Jason after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out! That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. this is Ray Hobbs here repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Backley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Jason Louv, and we are talking tech. All of it. Tomorrow night, Tracy Garbutt gets introduced to the world. You're not going to want to miss that show tomorrow night. Thursday night will be open lines all night long. And, you know, Jason, one of these nights, one of these Fader nights, you're going to come in and man the phones with me. I want you to just hang out here and take phone calls. I would love to have you experience the interaction because the questions will be just amazing. I'm doing my best tonight for the audience to get these in correctly, but I think that would be a very dynamic evening. Invitation is open. So I want to talk to you about AI because a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to give you the short version of the story. A couple of weeks ago, something happened. I then went public with it. I went straight over to Coast AM and told the world about what happened. I did it here on Fade to Black. I wrote up an article about it and published that too as well. And the reactions that I got from everybody was astounding. And this is what happened. In other words, the reaction was, yeah, it happened to me today. It happened to me yesterday. And this is what happened. Let me start off with, Jason, I am not a photography guy. Okay? I've got a camera on my iPhone that's good enough. Okay? I don't shop for cameras. I'm not a photography buff. I don't have cameras. I've never clicked on anything on Amazon. I've never searched for it, never done it. It's just not my gig. I'm an audio guy. You and I talked about that earlier, right? I'm an audio guy. Okay, so that being said, a friend of mine buys some very expensive camera gear, video and photography gear, and some lenses. And he showed them to me a few weeks ago. And then I was talking to my AV guy and briefly on the phone on a Saturday morning, briefly told him about the gear. You know, it was a $10,000 body with a $10,000 lens and another $20,000 lens, you know, 4K thing. And I had this conversation. The next day, on Sunday morning, I get up and I'm checking the news and, you know, I'm on my cell phone. And right there is an ad on the internet, not on Facebook yet. I didn't get there, for camera bodies. And so that kind of tripped me out. I stopped and I thought, why would that be there? And then I jumped to another website, and there is an ad for a camera lens. A lens. And I'm thinking, wait, whoa. Hold on a minute. I've never surfed. I've never clicked. I've never done anything in that realm. I only had that brief 3-minute conversation on the phone.
Yep, that's right.
Yep, and last month when Zuckerberg got up in front of Congress and the Senate, one of the representatives said to him, I'm sure that you caught this, but asked him, he said, my staff wanted me to ask you about their conversations getting heard on their phones because what they talk about in private is turning up in advertising. When they know that they haven't clicked or done anything, they've only had these weird conversations and this stuff pops up. Are you listening to conversations and using that to tailor advertising? And Zuckerberg said no.
Right. Well, that's clearly untrue. I think that the way that works, by the way, is if you want that, I'm fairly certain that if you want that to stop happening, delete Facebook Messenger from your phone. I believe that's the app that has voice recognition, and it has all kinds of scary stuff in the terms that people agree to when they download that app, but not the actual Facebook app, but the Messenger app. Mm-hmm. So, but that's fair. I mean, all they have to do is when you turn on Facebook Messenger, you give it access to your microphone so that you can call people through it. They can then turn on your microphone. It's very easy just to get voice recognition, and then the voice recognition, voice to text can then be looked at by some type of machine learning thing, or can trigger certain keywords. And then all that happens is your Facebook account is now tagged as having an interest in that subject. Anybody, including individual Facebook marketers, not just big companies, anybody can get into the back end of Facebook and that target people with that interest. And they can also be retargeted around the web, because if you have somebody's Facebook address or account, you very likely can have access to Google, their email address, things like that, and then their email can be used to target. Google AdSense will target ads to you wherever you go on the web, because all those ads are run by the same system at Google.
Is that about the scariest part of this, in that the amount of data collection through voice recognition like that has got to be ginormous? It's a ridiculous amount of science behind that to use spoken word, convert the subject matter into a general interest, in that, this person is going to buy one of these things.
That's right. I mean, when you think about, let's talk about the NSA. The NSA does the same thing, collects voice data from everywhere, all over the world. And just to store that data, they have data centers around the world. One of the most famous is in, I believe, the desert in Utah somewhere, or Nevada.
Salt Lake City. Yes.
Salt Lake City. Okay, it's that gigantic data center. I don't know where Facebook and the other ones keep their data, but 10 years ago, when people first started becoming aware of the level of surveillance that was possible, particularly when the Snowden thing happened, one of the things that people were saying was, well, look, maybe they're doing that, but nobody cares about me. And who's going to sort through all that data anyways? They would have to pay one person. They would have to assign one human being to every human being that's on the internet. It's just not possible. So the assumption was that it was just going to be unusable data, but that's no longer the case, because with graphics cards and machine learning, it's quite easy to just run an algorithm that processes all of that data and then comes back with information on individuals. It can do predictive analysis that can do things like the movie Minority Report. I'm positive that there are already machine learning algorithms that can go through all of the collected data on an individual and then predict not only their future buying patterns, but how they're likely to vote, how they're likely to whether they're potentially dangerous or not. Google is now working on an algorithm that will pretty effectively predict when somebody's going to die, that can be used for medical insurance reasons, things like that. So people don't understand. People really need to understand what's happening right now, which is that, yes, the thing that people are aware of is that all this data has been collected. Well, the second thing they need to be aware of is that it's going to be processed, and it can be processed not by human beings, but by algorithms. And AIs, as they currently exist, it's a bit of a misnomer because they're not actually intelligences. What AIs are right now are essentially algorithms that are capable of processing gigantic amounts of information and coming back with useful data from it. Mm-hmm. And so machine learning algorithms can go through all of that and pull out the information that the people who own them want very quickly and easily, even if they're going through petabytes and petabytes of information, relatively quickly. So the other thing is that amount of data is needed in order to train AIs. It's no mistake that all this data has been collected, because that data is necessary to train thinking machines. They need all of that to learn from.
I had a very interesting email. I got so much of it after I spoke about this. And one of them, I'm going to paraphrase and shorten it up, but it was two women in a kitchen talking about a distant relative who just had a baby. Okay? That's it. Nothing that was a direct family member. But they talked about the baby and that it was a girl. And then that was it. But this lady said the next day, now, and she said very clearly, this wasn't a direct, family member. It wasn't anything that was on the internet. It wasn't anything that was sent to us or anything. It was just a very brief conversation in the kitchen. The next day, I've got baby girl clothes advertising all over, right?
Yeah.
And she said it had to have come from either our smart television or our smart refrigerator. That's what they were thinking.
Well, yeah, so those are well known to be particularly smart TVs are well known to be security nightmares.
Right.
I think the new Xbox also was revealed to be either the Xbox or the PlayStation. I believe it was the Xbox was revealed to be recording 24/7. The mic never turns off. The whole Internet of Things, all of that stuff is a security nightmare, both for data scraping and for hacking. I mean, there was a story, just to give you an example, there was a story, I think a couple of months ago, where a casino in Vegas had their network hacked, and a tremendous amount of money was extracted from it. I may be getting this wrong, but this is how I'm remembering the story. But this part I'm sure of. The way that it was done was there was a Wi-Fi connected thermometer in the aquarium, the fish aquarium in the lobby of the casino. And the hackers just came in with a laptop, got into, that was not password protected or was flimsily password protected. They hacked the thermometer, and from that were able to get into the network of the entire casino. So people really, the Internet of Things, as John McAfee has pointed out a few times, is just it's a disaster waiting to happen. But yes, absolutely. And they've shown that they've absolutely shown that Samsung smart TVs and things like that have, allegedly, I don't want Samsung to get mad at me, but, smart TVs in general have, are listening. They're, and it's
I've got,
we're voluntarily walking into it, and I own smart devices and things like that. So
I've got black tape over everything now, man. It's so funny. I've got it over anything that's got a camera, any laptop that's got a camera. I've got tape on it. Microphones covered. It's weird how I just don't know. And most of it, you're clicking on I accept, right? I accept.
Right.
And there
I said at one point on Twitter, I think it's, our freedom is surrendered one privacy policy accepted at a time. like we bit by bit we give our freedom away to these terms and conditions that we sign off on.
Now, what do we? Where are we right now with AI? The big word certainly 2 years ago was singularity, and these dates were thrown around, by Ray Kurzweil and Elon and others. Kurzweil was saying it could be as soon as 2018. But where are we with that? Do we have something to really fear here?
Okay, so, well, first of all, my take on this, I think the singularity is marketing hype. It was something that was come up with to sell books and get on shows and that type of thing. I don't think that that's a real thing. Whatever's actually going to happen is going to be much more complicated. In terms of AI, the thing about AI is that people don't understand what it actually is, and then, of course, they're going to be afraid of it. If you look at articles about AI online, you always see kind of like stock or clip art from the Terminator movies, and the robots are going to come take our jobs and kill us. And then the assumption is that an AI will be just that. It will be some type of machine that is sentient and thinks like a person and can act like a person. That's not what AI is. It's certainly not yet. What AI actually is math. AIs are just, they're equations. They're like algorithms that, as I mentioned, can process tremendous amount of data at a time and then come back with predictive analysis from it. So, for instance, so recently Google was, there was an article at The Intercept where Google was, came under some heat for creating, they were, I believe, getting defense contracts to work with the military to do AI for drones and to develop machine learning for drones so that they could better target people by face. Mm-hmm. So the way that works is, all that is you write an algorithm, and then the algorithm, you give the algorithm, let's say, scans of 1 million faces, and you tell it to look for certain things. And then if it has, and it needs that much data, it can't just be a small amount of data. It needs to be data on that level, millions of pieces of data. The algorithm then runs through what they call it training. It will train by looking at all that data. And then it'll come back with, it will then, after training, then be able to recognize what you tell it to look for with, in 0.99% accuracy or something like that. And this isn't hard to do. I've written AI programs, I've written in it, it's a very basic experiment that anybody can do is you can write an AI algorithm that will analyze photos of handwriting and then tell you what the letters and numbers are. So you give it a data set of, let's say, 1 million different sevens, the number 7 written by 1 million different people. It's different versions of the number 7. It then trains on that data, and then it can tell you, then you can show it any 7 handwritten in any way by anybody, and it will tell you it to a certain, very fraction of accuracy, whether it's a 7 or not. So when we talk about doing these things for military applications, well, then it's, they want to be, recognizing, targets, insurgents, things like that. That's certainly shocking, although, frankly, I thought about that for a second, and I thought, well, the real issue is not the technology. The issue is the military program, and one of the problems with drone warfare is that it's been notoriously inaccurate. There's been so much collateral damage and children killed and civilians and things like that. So it's like, I thought about that at first I was shocked, but then I was like, wait, I kind of want them to shoot accurately. That's the best way to do it. So that's what AI actually is. It's just an algorithm that can process a tremendous amount of data and then make decisions based off of it. It's not intelligent. It's not sentient. There's nothing resembling a human being there. Now, there is something called strong AI, which is the AI from science fiction, the idea that there will be a machine that can think and reason like a human being and will be, to all intents and purposes, a new life form. As of yet, that's still totally speculative. They don't have a sense of how it can actually be done. Some people have predicted that it could happen in the 2030s. There's been a lot of fear about it, but the reality is that it just hasn't happened yet, and we don't know how to do it. Although if it does happen, it could happen overnight, and we wouldn't even necessarily know that it had happened.
Yeah, that's the scary part right there.
Yeah, it's one of the many scary parts. The best book to read about this, by the way, is called Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom, if you really want to terrify yourself and never sleep again.
Right.
But frankly, in terms of fear, I think that in the real world right now where we are, it's not helpful to think about AI in science fiction terms like Terminator or even, you know, some of the more positive AI movies, because that's just not realistic. It's not what AI actually is. AI is just a learning algorithm, and you know, even to call it intelligence is a bit of a misnomer because what it actually is just the next level of computing power. It's computers that can now use algorithms to read way more data than they used to be able to, and draw actionable information from that data. That's really all it is, and that itself poses enough ethical dilemmas, such as bias in algorithms. For instance, if algorithms, algorithms start to display biases and things like that, then we run into trouble. But and then the next the really pressing ethical issue is the job loss to automation. You know, within the next few years, the first thing that's going to be lost to automation is truck drivers. All of it, and I'm sorry, but 100% of it will be replaced with automated intelligent trucks that are self-driving. All of that runs off machine learning technology, because machine learning can be used to recognize stoplights and how to drive, how to go on maps, how to avoid accidents, things like that. All trucking is going to be automated, and truck driver is the number one job, particularly for men in America. It's the number one job. All that's going to be gone, and that's happening already. You know, it's going to happen overnight. But people think, well, I'm not a truck driver, I'm safe. Okay, well, at first it's going to be manual labor. You know, we already look at Amazon's warehouse, for instance. So much of the work at Amazon's warehouse is done by robots, and also by underpaid human beings and overworked. But white collar jobs are not safe from this. Lawyers, in particular, law is going to be mediated by algorithms, learning algorithms. A lot of medicine, even journalism. A lot of journalism is going to be done by smart algorithms. And
what about talk show hosts?
Well, did you see this thing that Google has just released? I forget what it's called, but this thing that can do phone calls and make calls for you, and it sounds 100% like a human being. You can't tell that it's not a human,
right?
So, I mean,
and it's crazy when you think about it. And then there's the other. I mean, when you think about the future. But even today, that one episode of The X-Files, and I hate to go and use the Hollywood metaphor, right? I hate to do that, but in this case, it was really well done. And I don't know if you caught the episode, but the episode was basically Mulder didn't tip at a automated sushi restaurant, right? He offended the bot. He didn't tip. And then everything goes amok with the Internet of Things. The Roomba turns into, a murder weapon. And drones are all over us. I mean, just the common things today. Not you know what I mean? Not Terminator T-3000 showing up, but just your average life. The house... the temperature's going from 100 degrees down to 40 degrees, and lights are turning on and off, and the automated house and the delivery systems, and like I said, the Roomba turns into an assassin. There's that part of it, and this is what I'm afraid of. What I'm afraid of is one bad actor. It's not about shutting down the electrical grid. But one guy that decides to jump in on the Android operating system of smart refrigerators and turns off refrigerators across the United States and takes everybody's food away from them, that is a problem. And that is a very real situation. We're talking about Android is running most of these connected devices and can be manipulated and hacked. And that is something that is very, very, very scary to me.
Right. Well, this is, of course, why data security is so important, and it is one of the most critical things for both for individuals and for society as a whole. But to be honest, when I first started getting into AI, at first I started to see all the things that could go wrong. But then the more I thought about it, the more... So, for instance, I was reading this Nick Bostrom book, Superintelligence, and that is the most terrifying book ever written about AI and the potential for what could go wrong. It's written by a lecturer at the University of Oxford. He's a credentialed academic, but he goes through and he looks at all the apocalyptic nightmare scenarios for AI, almost all of which end in total extinction of all life as we know it. But he then says, as you get towards the end of the book, the only thing that could possibly be worse for humanity than developing AI is not developing AI. And what he meant by that is when you step back and you look at it, well, what are the problems that we face, as a species? Okay, well, we have, terrible diseases that we need to overcome. We have misdistribution of food and people starving. We have the environmental crisis, toxic pollution of the environment, dying species, overpopulation, the need to colonize space. Well, all of these things could potentially be solved very quickly with artificial intelligence. Let's take a basic example, cancer, right? How many people does cancer kill every year? Well, let's say an AI was given access to, for instance, the data at 23andMe, which, by the way, is a Google company, and I'm sure that's why they created it. But or the records of the National Health Service in England, or something like that. Let's say that we put a machine learning algorithm and train it on the genetic code of as many people as possible, and then it comes back and it will tell you exactly the sequence of things to turn off to prevent cancer from ever occurring. I mean, that for me, that right there is our best possible hope. Right. Of curing things like cancer, curing AIDS. So if the cures are going to happen, that's going to be one of the major ways that it's going to happen. Or figuring out, let's say, detoxifying the ocean. All the coral reefs are dying. Well, AI robots could easily be deployed. Well, not easily, but we could work towards deploying robots that could start cleaning up the environment. Even the use of AI to do things like sequence genetics and bring back species that have been that are now extinct, things like this. And of course, we're also entering the world of CRISPR and easy genetic manipulation, and that's going to go hand in hand with AI. So yes, of course, there's frightening things about these, but on the flip side of that is there's incredibly exciting things about them also. And I don't like to make predictions about the future, but I think that it's going to get just incredibly weird within the next 10 years. We haven't even, we're talking about technology from the time that the web was rolled out, and you think about, we couldn't even stream video usefully, well, in the 90s, till now, we're still in the ramping up phase of information technology. We're still in the part where we're gathering speed, but we're just about to get to the takeoff. And the takeoff is going to happen within the next 10 years when we look at AI, machine learning, potentially strong AI, CRISPR, genetic manipulation, blockchain, cloud computing, graphics cards with tremendous amounts of power, the interconnection of all the computers around the world through things like blockchain. We have no idea what's coming, and it's going to happen as if overnight, as if it was like alien contact.
Yeah, it's going to be the Internet 3.0 for sure. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Jason Louv. We're talking technology. All of it. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Jason after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi folks, what can I say without making claims? CBD is truly the buzzword for health. What does it do? Government institutions will not allow me to say what this wonderful oil does for us. But I can say it's non-GMO and organic. I can say it's 0.003 THC, which in plain English means you won't get high. There are those that want to squash your freedom to buy natural products. Fight back with your purchase power. In the end, it is you that takes care of your health. Go to ancientlifeoil.com. One more time, ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Jason Louv. We're talking tech. All of it. Tomorrow night, Tracy Garbutt is going to be here. You're going to meet her for the first time. It's going to be an amazing show. Thursday night, open lines all night long. This is Fade to Black. Now, Jason, is there a way to slow down the progress that we are making? Should we, are we going too fast without looking at certain consequences? And one of the aspects of this is if you wanted to take down a country right now, you don't necessarily drop bombs, you take down their internet, and then everything is over. because of the distribution of electricity and food and water and communication and the news and everything else, you take that away and electricity, it all goes down. Certainly, the next World War will probably involve that first in some kind of warfare. And so to prevent that, maybe we should back up a little bit and maybe not have things run on the internet like we do, our infrastructure and so forth.
We can't slow it down. It's not going to be possible. The reason that I say that is, let's say that if one group or one country was to slow down technological progress, all that would happen would be they would fall behind all the other countries. So, and this is of course dangerous for the reason that, for instance, when I first started getting into AI, I realized that we had never faced an existential dilemma of this level ever before as a human species. The only thing that comes close is the atomic bomb. So I went and started reading the accounts of the people who had worked on the Manhattan Project to get a sense of how they were thinking. And the fascinating thing is they were all talking about what they were doing in the same terms as people are talking about AI now, where they were saying, we understand that we're creating what could become the most terrible weapon ever known. We're creating this horrible bomb, but we also know that if we don't, somebody else will. If we don't develop it, the Germans will develop it, the Japanese will develop it, and then the war will be over and they'll use it on us. So we have to develop it, and that thinking forces it to happen. It's almost like a magical thing. It forces it into manifestation. The AI developers are using the same logic now. When I was looking at it at the end of 2017, there were at least 1,000 companies working on AI. There's probably quite a few more now, and that's of course going to force the accelerated progress of AI. When it's not just the U.S., it's China, it's Russia. We can't slow it down. It's just not going to happen. That's not something that we're going to be able to do. So I think that what we have to do is guide it and continually suggest, as a human species, keep making sure that our voice is heard instead of just a few people and a few corporate concerns. The humanity has to constantly be forcing its way into the conversation and making sure that this is a group decision-making process, because it obviously affects all life, period. That's how I feel about it. And then also, I think that one of the best things we can do is imagine better futures for AI, futures that are not Terminator 5, but futures that are like the cure of cancer, the cure of global poverty, the cure of environmental degradation. There's a lot of tremendously positive things that could come out of this, overwhelmingly positive. So I think it's imperative for us to steer towards those futures, and I don't think that getting dystopian and apocalyptic and recycling the same Blade Runner and Terminator tropes whenever we think about this is particularly helpful. It's certainly not helpful for the people developing these things to have that in the back of their mind as they do. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But I think that technology should be a conversation that we have as a species instead of a very tiny core group of people making decisions behind closed doors.
Yeah,
that's dangerous.
Yeah, that's always the issue. And certainly for all of the goodness out there, and there's, hey, I like one-click Amazon. That's a pretty amazing thing. Click delivered. You don't even have to think about some complicated step. It's literally a click and it shows up at your house. I appreciate that. But then there's the other side. For all of that positivity, there is negativity. And who is out there on the front lines for us protecting our grid, our internet, the banking systems, and our water supplies and our food delivery systems so they don't get manipulated? I would think that there are an equal amount of criminals and criminal minds out there trying to figure out how to manipulate the system because it's always been there.
Right. I think one of the real issues with technology is there's no democracy to it. There's no such thing as global governance, even though technology, the promise of technology is that it will bring everyone together. It's not a group decision-making process. And so for that reason, I'm hopeful for certain technologies like blockchain technology, for instance. I think that it would be, pretty cool to run, let's say run a one world community, not a one world order, but a one world community, as Jazz Coleman from Killing Joke puts it, as on the blockchain, for instance. Of course, the blockchain allows for unhackable, unchangeable data to be transferred that can't be changed by any bad actors. So it's something that could be used to do global governance, where it's one vote, one person for the whole world, and the issues that affect all humanity could be decided through voting on the blockchain. I think that, or maybe not just voting, but just the whole idea of global governance using the blockchain is pretty exciting to think about. And honestly, to be perfectly frank, when we look around, everything has collapsed in our world at the moment. The political system has utterly collapsed. It's this anarchy and chaos, both in America and Europe. All of the old philosophies, people don't seem to be paying any heed to them anymore. The social order, the social fabric have disintegrated. And but technology is one of the only things that we have as a human species that's working and going forward into the future. And technology is what delivers. NASA didn't deliver, but Elon Musk is. So I have to say that technology is kind of where we should be putting our focus and our effort. Technology is the only thing that's going to give us a Hail Mary pass on the issues that we face in this century, whether it's climate change or overpopulation or whatever it happens to be, global pandemic diseases. Technology is the only thing that's going to save us. It's not going to be religion. It's not going to be government. It's not going to be spirituality, which is a sobering thing for somebody like me to say, but it's kind of true. Spirituality is great for motivating small numbers of people who are willing to put the time in. But it's not a mass fix. The only way we're going to mass fix these issues is through technology. So I'm all for it in that sense. And I think that, but I just caution that. I mean, I don't know if caution is the word. I think that one of the things that a couple of the great spiritual teachers of the 20th century said, Paramahansa Yogananda and Manly P. Hall, in the early part of the 20th century, is that humanity's technological capacity is advancing so quickly that it's outstripping, by exponential factors, is outstripping humanity's wisdom and capability of handling it and using it humanely. And, all you have to do is look online and you'll see that that's the case. We have this technology which, to all intents and purposes, gives us magical powers, both as individuals and as groups. And we're still the same people that we were, 2,000 years ago. We're still the same savages, So we just have more. We're going to have more and more and more and more powerful tools. The atom bomb already looks like a musket. So.
Well, one of the hurdles that they're desperately trying to overcome right now, and this is both with DARPA and Sandia, and others too as well. Certainly the focus of the research and their budgeting right now is a neural interface, and that machine to biological communication and being able to convert that. For a multitude of reasons. One, obviously, to download your brain and your memories, your dreams, your thoughts, but also a strong suggestion into immortality, because if you could get your soul and your consciousness and your memory onto a USB drive, well, then you're off to the races to living forever. And the other part of that is incorporating that, of course, into that Tron type of artificial reality where you would just exist on a chip. And that is a huge focus right now. How close do you think we are to downloading our brains?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I would be surprised if I would be really surprised if fairly advanced neural machine interfaces haven't already been developed in the military world. And I think that, okay, so in terms of whole brain downloading, they've certainly discussed it as a potential way to model even a strong AI. That said, my honest take on this is I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I don't think that and it's not even just a romantic thing. I don't think that what it is that makes a human being conscious can be reduced into
a terabyte,
onto a USB. I just don't think that's going to happen. What is going to happen is just because they don't look, we don't even understand what consciousness is, and as a lifelong meditator and explorer of spiritual traditions, I can pretty authoritatively assure you that whatever it is that we call the human soul, I mean, most human beings haven't even experienced the full capacity of the full expansiveness or capacity of their own spiritual levels. So they don't even know what they're playing with. Spirituality and the spiritual aspects of life and of human beings are so far beyond anything technology will ever be able to do that it's just not going to happen. But what will happen is, as you mentioned, neural machine interfaces. I think that's going to come very quickly, and they're already talking about what they're calling the Internet of Thoughts, which is when you have a neural interface into a machine, a computer that is then connected to the cloud, and then you're ordering things on Amazon with thoughts and browsing the web with thoughts and communicating with people to other people with thoughts, and then we have essentially a global telepathic network. That's coming. That's going to happen. I don't know how extensive it's going to be or how quickly it's going to happen, but they're already talking about it and they're already using that terminology. And I don't know if I want to know what's in other people's thoughts.
I know, right? And now, and the way that AR is advancing too as well. Not only you can see directly in gaming. Gaming today. Look, we go back and look at asteroids, right, or Missile Command, and then look at what is going on today. It's pretty astounding. And then there's the other part of it that goes on in Hollywood and the rendering that is done with that today. It's very, very impressive, and you can't tell. Well, maybe you can, but it's almost gotten to the point where you don't know what is real and what is not. Where do you think that is going? And if you could exist in an AR world, would you do it?
In an AR world or a full VR?
Well, see, okay. Now, also, the lines are blurred between the two, right?
Well, so I guess just to define clearly, so AR, augmented reality, is when you are... Okay, so a good example would be you're walking around the mall and you hold up your phone in front of stores and it displays, price tags and current deals and things like that. AR is when there's an overlay of information on top of the world as it is. And that's coming real quick, and that's going to be integrated with our lives, much more than VR is. And it's not just that, but I mean, obviously it syncs up with the Internet of Things and displays and things like that. But full VR is when you actually go into another experience, so you put the helmet on and you go into another world instead of it being an overlay on this world.
Yeah, and look at Pokemon Go. That's a beautiful example of being able to exist, and it's right there. It's on your cell phone, and you're walking around in reality, right? But you're in gameplay, And that's right there. It's a very simple version of it, but it is actually running. So I guess what I'm asking you is, if you were offered the opportunity to download your consciousness, your soul, and exist in an artificial reality, full-on version of pick a city, Seattle, right? And you could just live there forever. Would you make that move?
I'm not sure I would, because I'd be worried that, the promise would be that it would be some virtual paradise, and then I'd get there and then it would just be some machine using my consciousness to mine Bitcoin or something like that.
Right. Yeah, totally. Well, okay. Now, the movie, especially the first version of it, Tron, that suggested to all of us another world, one that existed, on a motherboard. And the way that Silicon Valley is working right now with qubits and parallel worlds, now we're strongly suggesting the existence of, on a scientific level, multiverse parallel worlds, infinite parallel worlds, where these qubits can run and exist and compute. Well, now we're starting to cross this line, and when all of the not all, but a bunch of these heads of giant corporations up in Silicon Valley started suggesting this type of world may be real and we may be existing in it, is suggesting that they know something that we don't. What do you think about science starting to prove this direction? And it was Silicon Valley, of all places, that is leading the way.
Well, to be honest, I don't know a ton about that, but I do know that certain things like there was this idea was propagated a few years ago that it had been proven that the universe is a simulation and things like that. A lot of times when you see things like that, what you're actually seeing is, a theory that a hypothesis that somebody has proposed that then gets picked up by the media and reported as if it's fact. And I know Neil deGrasse Tyson commented on this and kind of chucked that out and said it was not the case. A lot of times, having worked as a journalist and as a blogger and knowing how blogs work, bloggers will constantly look at scientific studies and reports to try and scrape stories and sensationalize them as much as possible, but very often they take it out of context. So I know that, for instance, even the mini world, so the mini worlds hypothesis of quantum physics, or the mini world's interpretation of the famous wave particle experiment, is just all that is. It suggests that there are different realities created at the quantum level for any decision or things like that. And all that was saying maybe this is a possible explanatory interpretation of the wave particle duality experiment. That experiment, of course, being that a wave, light could be observed as a wave or as a particle, depending on what they were looking for. And it seemed to be in a quantum superimposed, and it seemed to be both at once, and nobody could figure that out. And one of the hypotheses was that there were that different universes were created depending on what was observed. But that's not like a science. That's not all that is an idea that was thrown out. It's not something that's been scientifically tested and validated. So a lot of times what happens in the media is things like that get picked up and reported as if they are valid scientific truth. And that's kind of what happened with the universe as a simulation thing.
I went through, we got to hit a break here in about 2 minutes, but I went through a heavy amount of research over the last year into simulation theory. And those that are, like Leonard Susskind and, these theoretical physicists and quantum, these guys are very, very bright. And for them to step back and say, hey, well, actually, this is possible. So it's a rabbit hole, right, Jason? You go down this rabbit hole and you listen to these guys that are a lot smarter than I am. And I don't think that they could be, I think suckered is the wrong word, but pulled down a road that they wouldn't feel comfortable with unless there was some scientific fact behind it. And that's the frightening part, is when you go and listen to these theoretical physicists and these string theory guys and these quantum guys, where they are suggesting just that. Well, math is math, and this could be a simulation. And that's what's scary to me, is you start to believe, because these are people that are smarter than you. You know what I mean?
Right, but they could also be saying, just saying it's possible. All that may mean is we haven't tested it, but we can't, from the scientific discourse. I mean, what they may be saying by saying it's possible is just that we can't invalidate it. That we can't say that it's not true based on current data, but that it, maybe the experiments could be done to determine it. So, they're not saying that it's true. They're just saying that, we can't say it's not true, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the case. But, in terms of simulation theory, is the universe a simulation? Well, I mean, this is what every religion says. It's if you believe in God, then you believe that the universe is a creation. It's the same as a simulation. So I think for spiritual people, this is not so disconcerting. But
wow, that's a heavy thought. That one I got to contemplate during this commercial break. That is heavy. That's heavy. That was good. Our guest tonight, Jason Louv. We're talking tech. We're going to pick up where we left off right after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at Tdotcom? A lot. But by federal law, we at Tdotcom cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at Tdotcom and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. GetTheT.com. GetTheT.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Jason at Jason Louv. He's right there. Great conversation about technology tonight. And now, Jason, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about our privacy on the internet. And also, are we at the point now where we have to accept ourselves as a data set, that is the nature of things? It's going to happen. Your personality, your traits are data, and valuable data, and will be bought and sold, and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you want to use Facebook, absolutely. Facebook, of course, is the greatest intruder into human privacy possibly in human history. And then the other ones as well. If you want to, that's kind of the devil's bargain. You know, if you want to get the Faustian power of technology, well, you know, the devil's got to get something too. And that's how it is currently. I mean, there's things happening like the GDPR in Europe. You know, things are certainly changing. People are becoming much more aware about this. There's been a lot of pushback, and I think that people should be able to continue to push back against invasion of their privacy. But currently, to all intents and purposes, yeah. I mean, if you've ever used Facebook, you're a data set. If you've ever used Google, you're a data set. If you've ever used Amazon, you're a data set. If you've ever used,
Netflix.
If you've ever been on the web. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, but to be honest with you also, as a small businessman and, doing business online and using all these tools, it's the flip side of that is the ability to do this is pretty much democratized, and it's never been easier to start a business than now. I mean, anybody can use Amazon Web Service, Amazon Cloud Services or Google Cloud, and anyone can use Facebook advertising to target just you can create a product and build a web page to sell it, and then use Facebook ads to target exactly the people that want to buy it. And so it's not like this stuff is only in the hands of big corporations. It's also in the hands of anybody who's willing to learn how to use it, and it's not that hard to learn. So I think it's just part of the evolutionary process and the evolutionary curve, and it's good and bad, but there's a lot of good. I would not want to live at any other time in history than this. For a guy as nerdy as I am, technology allows me to live a pretty good lifestyle.
Yeah, and I can appreciate all of that too, but again, to use the word flip side, the other side of this is so many millions, hundreds of millions were shocked to find out that this type of collection was going on. When I went and looked at my Facebook file, mine was 1.2 gigabytes. I did notice others that were saying it was 250 megabytes or was 300 megabytes. But I went and looked, and the amount of data that was there, which was phone numbers of contacts and people and name, it's some that I had never contacted before. Certainly there was information there in my data file that wasn't stuff that I had. And I'm talking about personal information on others. And you go down there and you look, and there's phone numbers and addresses and information for people that I don't even know, but yet they're in my Facebook file. And that's a frightening thought. What if, I'll give you an example of where I think this could be used in the wrong way. somebody gets arrested for murder in Louisiana. I don't know this person. They're not in my phone book. I've never talked to them. I don't know anything about them. But they go through their data file, and I pop up on there, and I get a phone call in an investigation for somebody that I know nothing about. That's and now they're starting to connect these dots through a spider web of somebody that two people that have never met, that know nothing about each other. And
yeah. Sure, but hey, I mean, have you ever looked at the technology that private investigators have?
Yeah, and see, yes, and that's the other part. I was actually going to go there. The one of the biggest how do I want to say this? I don't want to say money making, but certainly that's what it is data collection. And there are companies out there that literally have a file on every single person in the United States. Every single one. Nobody is off that list. And the number one, and I've read so much on this, the number one data set that they want to acquire first is a newborn. Because now, from day one, you are able to get their complete personality on file. Not from somebody that's 35, right? Okay? You want somebody's traits and habits from the day that they are born. And that's where they go first these days. Now, that to me is not cool, but it's where we are. And I don't know if that can be reversed. It simply can't.
Right. I mean, one of the point I was going to make about the private investigator database is anybody who's a licensed to be a private investigator can get access, for a small amount of money to a database where they can look you up and see a visual web of everyone in your social circle, everyone you've been connected to, relatives who they're connected to, like, three levels out, everywhere you've lived. So it's not like that information isn't already there. But of course, the name of the gold of the future is data. Data is the most valuable substance on the planet at the moment. That's why all these companies want it. That's why these big companies like Facebook. Okay, Facebook is Facebook really a social media company? No, they're a data collection company, and that data is really, really important for many reasons. One is, of course, the ability to collect information about people that allows advertising to be served to them accurately. That's, advertising is how Google and Facebook have become among the biggest companies on the planet, and of course, working with Amazon, that's how Amazon has become the biggest retailer on the planet. But the other one is training AIs. It's not just predictive analysis and advertising, but it's training AIs. That's the next level of this, putting machine learning algorithms to it.
I went and signed up. This is a while ago, but a credit protection agent. I'm not going to say which one, but one of the big names, right? So I go and I get it, and one of the so I get the premium deluxe package, right? And one of the buttons as I log in right there is it's like your history, right? So I go and I click on that, and okay, I expected certain things. There were things there that I forgot and didn't remember. For instance, where I went to an elementary school in Kalamazoo for like 3 months in the second grade, right? It's listed right there. I forgot the name of the school, but it's there. And there was a chronological history of everywhere that I lived on this planet from when I was a kid. Now, not as an adult where you know that you're in the system, but I'm talking about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And that, to me, was disturbing. And that was public. I had access to it, but it's in their database.
And that's nothing new. That's nothing new. I mean, that's just the reality of the world that we live in right now. So I mean, we can be disturbed by it, but I mean, that's been things like that. I mean, federal databases and things like that. That's existed for a long time.
And how do we? Is there a way to protect our information? How do you protect yours?
Well, that's a pretty complicated question, and of course, the first question is what information. I mean, yes, you can opt out of data collection in various ways. You can certainly the best way is just to not use Facebook. If you're really concerned about privacy, don't use Facebook. But there's a lot of ways using VPNs, using Tor. Using certainly here's the bottom line. If you really want to learn how to protect your information, go to the Electronic Freedom Foundation. So it's EFF.org, and they have user guides on how to maintain anonymity on the internet and protect your information. And there's a lot of steps. It's a real multi-layer process. But the big ones are using a password manager, using a VPN, using Tor, and then you can also get browser extensions that will block all external JavaScripts and things like that from collecting and scraping your data. So there's a lot can be done. Of course, it's quite easy to protect your information from, let's say, websites collecting it and Facebook and things like that. That's pretty straightforward. But when we talk about, there's no protection from the NSA or something like that. It's just not going to happen. They're so advanced, and so it's like you just have to live. You have to live in a world where you assume that you're in public all the time, and that's just the reality of it now. I mean, that's just where we're at.
Now, there's one last thing that I want to spend some time on tonight, which is when we talk about Big Brother, when we talk about information, we can't escape that subject without talking about fake news, what we went through in 2016. We saw it coming. Certainly, we've been warned about it for a long time, but we were faced with it on a global scale. This wasn't anything isolated to any one country. The internet reaches around the world. That's a given. But now we have to use our best judgment constantly on what is real and what is not. And the mass media was also and still continues to be a part of that too as well, and other websites out there where they can guide emotion and fool people. Again, I realize this is the world that we are living in, but what do we do about this?
Learn how to think critically. I mean, it's the same. It's this. Look, I mean, what did we do with television, with broadcast TV and cable? I mean, you don't think those were manipulating your emotions?
That's right.
Selling you a false reality. It's not any different. It's just a little bit more frantic and sped up now. So, I think that the two things that I really try to hit people to or urge people to investigate. One is media literacy, critical thinking. Take a class on media literacy or read a book on, understand how the media works. The media is not your friend, and it's not because they're sinister or conspiratorial. It's because their business model is to drive attention to sell ads. That's the business model of the media. And they figured out about 4 years ago that anger is the most viral emotion. So all of these media sources started trying to make people outraged about things all the time with headlines and clickbait and things like that. And we saw that fuel the election on both sides of the political spectrum.
Right.
And it's non-partisan. It's just how the technology has been being abused. And I've worked in the media for my whole life. I've run media sites and things like that, so I know how the game is played. And the media is not your friend. They're there to sell ads, okay? And to get your eyeballs on the ads. They will do anything to get your attention. That's the business model. That's how it works. So the other thing is scientific literacy. That's what we need more than anything. And I know this is a bit fresh coming from a guy like me, but when it's a guy like me saying that, it's like really serious. But one of my favorite things that or one of the most intense experiences I've had. I listened to this course called Your Deceptive Mind by Dr. Stephen Novella, who's a neuroscientist, and it's several hours long, and it's just about how our minds. It's not only that the media deceives us, our own minds deceive us, because if you don't understand science, if you don't understand, the scientific method is a check against human delusion, and being led around by our own emotions and wishful thinking and confirmation bias and what we wish to be true. That's the biggest problem. It's not the technology. The technology enables our worst aspects. The technology just enables us. The issue is that we assume what is true, what we want to be true. That's the problem. That's the bug in human consciousness. When you want something to be true, you will look for evidence of it being true, and you will discount evidence of it not being true. And if that fundamental cognitive bias is not checked by something like either this, the scientific method, or just hanging out and talking to people that don't agree with you, then you just end up in a tunnel of delusion. And so I think, critical thinking, scientific thinking, media literacy, but it's the same now as it's ever been. I mean, you look back at the Middle Ages, look at the crazy stuff they believed, this is not a new problem.
Yeah, when
humanity is superstitious.
It's crazy for me to look back at what we experienced in 2016. I had said, I must have said it 1,000 times on this program over the years, take whatever news headline that you're reading, flip it over 180 degrees, and then you're probably closer to the truth. And what I had said as an example, Jason, is the headline reads, cheddar cheese will kill you. That's the headline, right? Okay, well, the truth is cheddar cheese will make you live longer, right? But whatever it is, flip it over. And then, and I tried to drive that home. And when the fake news stuff started to happen, from Macedonia or wherever was coming up, when all of those stories started to break, and I would see two identical stories. One that said, I'm making this up, I'm paraphrasing, but one that says, Hillary arrested today for reading Donald Trump's emails and sexual acts with rabbits, right? So and then right after that, Trump arrested today for you know what I mean, for sexual acts with rabbits. And it's just like and everybody flaming up and believing what they were saying in these things, and they wanted to believe it. And no matter what, they wouldn't go and take it one step further. Like you're saying, go and check the source of this. That's all you got to do. On both sides, you're right. It was not partisan. It was all over the place, and it enabled everybody to just argue and fight where they would never fight before. It was effective. Right.
Well, that absolutely is the case on both sides, all sides of the political fence. And what I came to realize is that when people, particularly, it seems to really be the case with Facebook, because Facebook is about sharing. It's a sharing medium, and by its very nature, you're not looking at the whole of the news. When you read the New York Times, you get all of the news for the day. When you're looking on Facebook, you just see little bits and pieces flying by. And the thing is that when people share things, when they read things, when they comment on things, and when they fight about things, it's very rarely about, they're not concerned with what the actual information is. They're concerned about the feeling they're getting, the hit they're getting, and the feeling of anger, the feeling of rage. You see a headline and you get angry. That's an addiction.
Right.
You feel that. You become addicted to the feeling. You seek it out, and the feeling of fighting other people, the feeling of being right. I mean, I know this because I've done so much of it, but it's an addictive feeling, and they know that, and I know, and I, when I was running more frequently Ultra Culture, my blog was covering political things. I knew that, so I knew it was so easy for me to manipulate the media by doing that. By stoking people's rage. I think I figured that out. This was way before fake news. I figured that out way before most people did, and I was able to get. For instance, I did some reporting on Monsanto, and I figured out how they were manipulating the political process and the media and things like that. And I wrote an article around it, and I was able to build up people's rage around it. Then it got to like the top of Reddit. It was like number 3 article on Reddit. And I just understood right then how easy it was to manipulate the system by provoking people's emotions. But then, of course, we saw this used to such devastating effect in the 2016 election, whether it was by Cambridge Analytica and Bannon or the Russians, just this wide scale. I thought I was clever figuring some of this stuff out to use it for good purposes, but lo and behold, an extra state a state actor can come in and just throw the chessboard and just, break down the entire political process by manipulating things through Facebook. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, look at something, satirical like The Onion. Brilliant writing, really funny. I get it. I know what I'm reading at the time. But yet, even those out there who were quoting The Onion on these crazy, funny stories, but they never checked the source. And they just assumed that, you're right, the rage, the ability to get those, whatever it is, that chemical change that is happening where they're enjoying that part of it, and they're not going back and checking. And I read today, or I think it was yesterday, a very funny article on The Onion, which was Border Patrol agents. Listen to this, Jason. Border Patrol agents throw pregnant Mexican woman back over the wall.
Oh, I saw that.
You saw that, right? I mean, just outrage. The reactions on the internet. I'm like, do you honestly believe that happened?
Well, I had to look twice when I saw it because things are so unbelievably vicious and brutal right now that I realized that about a second in that it was The Onion. But it's like the way things are going, I had to stop and verify. So and I appreciate the satire.
And when you read something like that on The Onion, certainly I have a mind that enjoys that stuff, but it is a barometer of where we are with society today. The satire is great. This is what is making everybody mad, is these kinds of stories. That's what The Onion is trying to say here, right? And I get that, but the vast audience out there just has blinders on, and they see that and they get outraged, and the next thing you know, with all of this immigration stuff going on, well, we're also throwing pregnant women over the walls. It's just like, wait a minute, I don't know what to do with that.
Well, it's dangerous, and it's the deeper issue is that it's but this is how human consciousness works anyways. I mean, Facebook demonstrates confirmation bias. We look for what we want to be true and then assume it's true, and Facebook just makes that not only literally tangibly true and visible, but also easy to manipulate. There was a great documentary called Hypernormalization put out by Adam Curtis, famous documentary maker, that goes into how much the Facebook algorithms and the information tunnels were responsible for what happened in 2016, and draws parallels to how propaganda, how state control is handled in Russia, where under Putin, the doctrine, Putin has this guy named Surkov who has figured out that the way to maintain control over a population is not to squash protest movements, it's to manufacture and create hundreds of different protest movements, all of which have different agendas, and then propagate them into the public so nobody knows what's going on, and turn everything into like a theater piece. And that's the same strategy they used in hacking the election, or hacking Facebook not hacking, but manipulating Facebook in 2016, where they were, creating all these Facebook pages for fake social groups, and it didn't matter what the social group was or the protest group was. They were doing white nationalist pages, they were doing Black Lives Matter, they were doing everything, and as long as they could create confusion. And they were even organizing flash mobs from Russia, where they were like creating events on Facebook to get people to all show up in a public place at once, and creating protests remotely, with nobody being the wiser that it was coming from Russia. So, this is pretty sophisticated stuff. China is now apparently getting in on the same act. They were quite impressed by what Russia did in the election, and they're trying to figure out how to do it also. So
why not?
This is the future. This is the world we live in now.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's genius when you think about it, and that's where we are. The ability to, if you have, and I know this sounds elemental, but it's really true. If you have 10 million, 5 million, 10 million Twitter followers, it only takes the click of a mouse to change emotion in a nanosecond. That's it. And if you understand that, which many do now, that's where we are today, and it just doesn't matter. And we have to figure out a way to use judgment, like you say, and I'm totally with you on that. Jason, I want to thank you. Just an absolutely amazing conversation tonight. What are you working on now? What's the next book?
Well, I'm still promoting this one. So the new book is John Dee and the Empire of Angels, the story of the last 500 years of occult history that's been going on behind the scenes, and the secret societies that have been manipulating history and consciousness. You can find all of my projects at jasonlouv.com. Right now, I'm putting a ton of effort into my podcast, which is, I've been getting all this equipment for. That is Ultra Culture with Jason Louv. You can find it anywhere you can find podcasts. For people who are interested in the technology side, I really urge you to check out my course, Bitcoin Insider, which is bitcoininsider.io. It should really be called Blockchain Insider, because it's the total training on how to understand the blockchain, how to profit from it, how to understand how this Promethean technology is going to change everything around us in the next 10 to 20 years. That's the master course in understanding Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency. Both to personally profit from it and to think about using it in ways to do things other than just focusing on money, using it to create companies, to make to do your job better, to bring to the company that you work at, to supercharge and accelerate the way that business is done. I truly do believe that blockchain, along with AI and CRISPR and some of these other things, blockchain will radically transform everything in our society, just like the web did. Right now, we're at the kind of 1997 moment where we were with the web in 1997 or 1998. That's where we are with blockchain right now. It's about to. Right now, the only thing that people know about it is, Bitcoin and that type of thing, but they don't understand that this technology is going to fundamentally transform society as profoundly as the web did. And so if you want to be in on the ground floor of that, the course is bitcoininsider.io. It's the best course I've ever done, so definitely check that out.
I'm going to go check that out for sure. I haven't spoken to you about our platform that we have launched and our social media network, and it's called OnStellar, OnStellar.com, and it's based on the blockchain. So that is the foundation of it. We don't have any advertising or data mining. Everything is locked down with the blockchain, just like you said. And all information, uploads and downloads and communications, everything is preserved and unaltered in the blockchain. But the other part of it is our little token economy with our token that we have. It's called OnStellar, and it's a way to our conspiracy, supernatural, paranormal community can go and share information, and everything is based on the blockchain and its token economy. But it's a way, not only through videos like YouTube or that type of stuff, but to promote and research and get rewarded for that. I believe it is Internet 3.0. Everything that is out there now, like we were talking about, whether it's Google or Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, or Instagram, that's all technology from 1998. And we've got to take the internet into its next phase. And I do call it Internet 3.0. And I think the blockchain can be used for anything. Anything that you want to do, there's a way to incorporate the blockchain into it, and that is the future. And I'm totally with you on that. I'm going to go check out your course for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, just the web as it currently exists runs off of, database technology from the 90s, PHP and things like that.
That's right.
And so, MySQL, things like that. And blockchain is going to replace that. It's going to be the backbone of how information is moved around the world.
Yeah.
All of this that we're talking about.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And so when the OnStellar design thought started to build Facebook, I don't want to say this in a weird way, but we had the vision for it, right? And the team at OnStellar. And then Facebook got caught. Cambridge, everything happened, and it was the best advertising that we could do because we didn't even have to advertise. Zuckerberg did it for us. In that, here we have the platform that is the future, and these are the reasons why. Go listen to Zuckerberg. That's all we had to do. And we've taken off. It is a great social media platform. We've got all of the technology and wants and needs that anybody desires from a social media platform, but there's no advertising. There's no data mining. There's none of that there. There's no censorship. It is a beautiful, free place to be. Remember, Jason, let's go back to 1995, 1996, 1997, and the first time you saw a pop-up ad and you wanted to throw your laptop out the window. You remember how angry you were?
Right.
Yeah, well, there's none of that here. When I go over to Facebook these days or anywhere, and I'm scrolling through and I see every other post is an advertisement, it offends me. And you go over to OnStellar, and there's no advertising. It's nothing but you and thought and interaction. And it's like I said, it's the next phase of the internet. It's truly Internet 3.0. I couldn't agree with you more.
All right. Well, it was great to be on the show, and I appreciate you having me back on.
Thank you so much, Jason. Behave and be well.
All right. Talk to you later.
Jason Louv, and it's very simple, jasonlouv.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And, of course, you can follow Jason on Twitter at Jason Louv. All of his books are there. And John Dee and the Empire of Angels, which I've now read twice, is an amazing read. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll come back and we'll open up the phone lines right after this short break. Stay with us.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numanna banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at naturesyouth.com. naturesyouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at naturesyouth.com. That's naturesyouth.com.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm going to Jimmy Church. I want to thank Jason Louv. What a conversation tonight. Man. JasonLouv.com. You can also follow Jason at Jason Louv on Twitter. And you can just click over on Jason's links over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Okay, I've just opened up the phone lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Jason mentioned the NSA a few times tonight. And the information that came out today about AT&T's NSA centers across the United States is pretty frightening when you think about it. And I'm so tempted to post the addresses of those buildings so you can go into your hometown and walk by one of these windowless concrete monstrosities and just stop and think about what is actually going on inside of those buildings. So think about that for a second. This is Fade to Black. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live right now. Who's calling?
Deb from Sacramento.
Hi, Deb. How are you?
Hi, good, Jimmy. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. What did you think about that conversation tonight?
You know, when I first heard what the topic was, I thought, oh, this is going to be so over my head, and I don't know if I'm going to get any of this. It was and some of it was over my head, but it was so educational. He explained things so clearly as far as the future of AI and taking a lot of the fear out of, what's propagated and, all the things that we hear on the internet, and talking about using discernment and just kind of, clarifying a lot of things. Really interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah, and there's another part of it, and which is this: when you have so many, and especially with the research that I do on this, because I'm fascinated with it. When you hear so much, and then you have Jason bring on the other side of it, right, to kind of smooth things over. Then you kind of get yourself balanced a little bit. But that being said, and again, it's about listening to everybody, taking a little piece of everything, and getting, because no matter what, you listen to one side, you listen, the reality is somewhere in the middle, right? The reality is I think that is a very safe way to go. When we look at some of the basic things out there, Deb, like chess programs or Go, the Chinese board game, and how these software engineers that work on that part of AI have developed stuff that is so complicated. The game of chess is not easy. And Go is even more complicated than that. And where, like with Go, they were able to just give the rules, the rules, and then allow the AI to just play. And now they're unbeatable. The AI is unbeatable. So if you take that concept and you apply it to just about anything inside of AI, then I would think we have stuff there to worry about. Where Jason is saying, I think we're okay here. I think there's a lot of paranoia and a lot of fear, and I can agree with that. I can. But there's the other part of it where I know that there are millions and hundreds of millions of dollars and effort and research and coding and engineers and developers that are laser focused on one thing, and that is developing a version of you, of something that can think, and to the point where we will not be able to tell the difference between what is real and what is not. That is the goal. That is 100% the goal. And
that's a scary thought. And that's a scary thought for sure.
There's just no way that I would ever be sold on the idea like Zuckerberg was presenting last month in his testimony, in that, no, we're the good guys. Everything is fine. We have
he's such a thief.
We
he's full
have
of crap.
We just all we care about is you. Everything is great. No, we don't do anything evil. We don't do anything bad. Everything we do is about being good. I don't buy into that. I don't.
I mean, talk about, not being transparent. He didn't even want to talk about what hotel he stayed at. I mean, give me a break. But we're the good guys, and we're here, and we're here to bring the world together. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah. And so I had a lot of difficulty with that. But listening to Jason tonight, like I said, he centers you. He pulls you back into the center a little bit, and I think that we need to hear that, because that's exactly what he has been doing. That's what he's been writing about. He understands it, and he's been developing AI for a long time. So there you go. And that's my take. Let's just all learn together. Yeah. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Well, the part that really resonated with me when he was talking about the ability to take our souls and put them into a microchip, or a USB, and be able to do something like that. And, no one totally understands what a soul is, like he was saying. So when he was explaining that part of it and his take on it, that's really what resonated with me.
Yeah, there's another part to that. And let me explain. Cryogenics. Okay? Cryogenics. We all understand what it is. Freezing your body and for the future, and maybe disease can be cured, and then they bring your body back to life, and boom, you get another go, right? You get another go around.
Yeah.
So, they freeze my brain, right? And it's probably not that expensive, but and my brain gets restarted. It gets restarted 100 years from now. And they figured out how to clone another body for me, right? And they reattach my they don't know. I certainly don't know who I am going to be. Is my soul is Jimmy going to be inside of that brain? My memories should be there, right? The data storage should be there. But what about me? What about my soul? What becomes of that? Is that, and of course we deal with this with spirituality and today and consciousness and what happens when you die in your soul, what happens to that part of it. We know that our body turns off, right? Okay. All right. That's electric. Right. It turns off. But if my brain gets fired up again, is it going to be me? That's the question.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Along those lines, too, to kind of help you make your point is, not that you need help, but it makes me think about how when someone maybe gets an organ from an organ donor and that person maybe died, but the new person that has their organ, all of a sudden they start developing the habits or the taste of the donor.
I read I had a Fader fact the other day that I didn't use. Well, I won't be able to use it now anyway because I'm about to spill it, which is this. There was a heart transplant. Guy commits suicide. Okay? Commits suicide. I'm not going to say how, but he commits suicide. Heart transplant into the new recipient, who actually marries the wife of the dude that committed suicide. 10 years later, the recipient of the heart transplant committed suicide the same way that the donor did. And he was married to his wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Man. Now, and so in reading the facts of the case, it was almost too much. It's like there's something there, man. I don't know, but it happened. Yeah, it's a very and think about the wife, right? 2 in a row. Right? That's
trippy.
Yeah, it's trippy. Thank you so much, Deb. We'll see you tomorrow night on the show.
Sure. Okay, Jimmy, take care. Thank you.
Have a great night. It's a great conversation right there with Deb. Let's go back to the phones here. Let's see. Area code 360. You're up next on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Yeah, this is Phil from the Pacific Northwest here.
Hey, Phil. You're breaking up, man.
No, my throat is the throat, not the throat.
If that's your throat, you need to go see a doctor. No, yeah, your phone.
No, man, I'll clear it out here. Anyway, so along with what the last lady said, and the soul thing, yeah, there isn't any way you're going to get a soul to jump into a damn chip. I can't see that. I mean, we're multi-dimensional selves. What are we going to do in a damn chip? That's no fun. But also, I wanted to talk about the prediction that was made on to my question last week. And I've come across data that says that Mother Earth has already ascended to her multi-dimensional, fifth-dimensional self. So it's us that are...
How'd you get the information?
Well, through 2 sources. Lisa Transcendence Brown, who claims that she's there, that she can go there already. And the other one was James Tiburon in a talk that he gave recently on Earthkeepers. So, I mean, yeah, it's not like a scientific thing, man.
I'm not saying that. I just want to know where you got the information from. You said you got information that were already there.
Right, yeah.
Now,
I haven't actually talked to Mother Earth myself, which is what I should have done anyway, and not asked anybody else. I don't know why I even asked that question now that I thought about it.
Well, all you got.
But anyway, get back to the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Vet your own information. That's all you got to do. You're right. Just go back to the source. Ask Gaia.
Yep.
What's up?
Yep.
Get back to
I'm going to do that, and I'll write about it or give a call in when I do that. But back to this AI thing, man. That's just. I mean, he didn't talk about Sophia, and I definitely have heard about two AI programs like communicating with each other in a different language that they created themselves.
Yeah.
I heard a story of that.
Yeah, that was last year. Yes.
Yeah. So some strange stuff is going on there, and and then Corey Good talks about the AI. That the secret space program and most of the other benign societies are trying to combat, and they think that the Dracos are the ones that are controlled by this AI. And and then I heard on that one another channel that's talking about an AI cloud that's just outside of our solar system, kind of hanging out there. So. The big deal there is to have the big solar flash that'll just, fry all that stuff. So we're not going to have any AI. We're going to have to start all over.
Yeah, I'm my thing is and many sci-fi writers have talked about this, but the ability for a sci-fi writer, science fiction writer to put this stuff down, but then to have it actually eventually play itself out. In that, all you have to do is plant the seed of an idea. And the seed of an idea is something like Terminator 2 or machines taking over the world and robots and computers. And all you have to do is plant the seed of the idea for that. And then you go and invent it. That's all you got to do. Satellites, telecommunications, cell phones, streaming video, Dick Tracy, video watch. All you have to do is plant the seed of the idea, and then they go and create it. And so when it comes to AI, and we're talking about this kind of machine learning and the ability and the HAL 9000 computer in 2001, well, they're going to go and invent it. They're going to go and you give them the idea for an EM drive.
Already, Jimmy.
Well, look at Star Trek and everything that was in Star Trek they're working on today, from not only teleportation, but look at the communicators and
we already
exotic,
know those, right?
Exotic engines and propulsion systems and so forth. So anyway, you put that idea out there, and now you talk about the singularity and the point of it's going to happen. You only have to put the idea out there, and it germinates in a petri dish, and the next thing you know. So to say that the singularity is not possible, the fear for machine learning to take place, and they suddenly surpass us. At that point, being able to teach themselves and acquire knowledge through a vast network of data that is interconnected on server farms around the world, and learn math and learn physics and biology and just learn everything and take science to the next level. And knowledge to the next level and design to the next level and do it by themselves without us, that's a scary thought. And what they could learn automatically in 24 hours, in 48 hours, not in 100 years. We've been acquiring this knowledge for 5,000 years, right? 5,000 years got us to the moon,
longer.
Right? Well, or longer. But a machine learning situation of singularity, that knowledge gets by the nanosecond, just multitudes, magnitudes of knowledge That's a crazy thought to me. So that's
right. Well, they've got that quantum computer, the D3, or I can't remember the exact name of it.
There's so many of them now. I mean, China has got the baddest quantum computer right now. But listen, Philip, I gotta run. Okay. We're at the end of the show, so I'll see you tomorrow night.
All right, man. Take care, man. Have a good one.
Thank you, Philip. Philip, as he should be. We should definitely be aware. Be aware. I don't know. Everybody talks about that infamous on-off switch when it comes to these capabilities. Where can we do it, and where should it be put? And then at the moment of necessity, flip that and turn everything off. Is it possible? And to think, we don't have to worry about that. No, we do. We absolutely do. I don't want there to be some central core out there that is very, very smart and connected that can run things. And I'm talking about nanobots, and I'm talking about drones, and I'm talking about robots, and manufacturing, and electricity, and food. If all of that can be controlled by somebody that is not controllable, when I say somebody, I'm talking about AI. I'm just not so sure we need to be relaxed about that. I'm going to continue to be paranoid. I have to be, and so should all of us. Technology is a good thing. The ability for us to do this show and how we do it is part of the technology that I embrace. This family is connected every single night by the technology that we need to also be a little bit, worried about. And I think that's healthy. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want to thank Jason Louv, Louv.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow Jason on Twitter at Jason Louv. Fade to Black's executive producers Rita Camarian. Show is produced by Hill J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster Drew the Geek. Music Doug Aldrich. Intro Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJ Sierra for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night's going to be a great night. I'm going to introduce you to Tracy Garbutt. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.